What's up, everybody? My name is Daniel Unmanageable, and this is Hard Knox Talks. Tonight's episode is brought to you in part by Prairie Sky Recovery Center, Prairie Harm Reduction, Chrism Prairies, the Newly Institute, the Elizabeth Fry Society of Saskatchewan, and Living Free Counseling and Healing in Regina, Saskatchewan. Tonight's guest, Jessica Compton, was abandoned, abducted, abused, addicted, arrested 4 times, and struggles with ADHD. And tonight we are going to hear her inspiring story right after this.
I spent 23 years living in addiction. 16 of those years I worked as a Red Seal tradesperson in Saskatchewan and Northern Alberta. During that time, I made many mistakes and took more than a few hard knocks. I went from tradesman to business owner to hiding from gang members and dumpster diving. But with that lived experience, I've decided to try and make a change. I've dedicated my life to raising awareness and promoting change in the fields of substance use and psychological health and safety. So join me and my guests as we take off the blinders around mental health in our communities and at work and shine a light on what's working and what's not working in the fields of mental health and occupational health and safety. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and I'll be your host, and this is Hard Knox Talks.
Okay. I hope you're ready, Jessica. Here we come. What's up, my friend?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are things way over in Ontario?
It's doing great. I'm not so happy about the snow, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to say tonight before we dive in?
Yeah, there's tons of love out there and messages of hope. So, if you're tuning in even for 30 seconds, definitely reach out to anybody that's out there, if it's resources or even myself. So.
Okay, you ready to dive into the flashback?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Why don't you tell us what it was like growing up?
Yeah, so as far as back as I remember, I guess I'll start off at age 4, being taken out of my mother's home. And I always like to share my story with compassion to the best of my abilities. Parents can only do what they can at the time, or the time that they're in. So, I was taken out of my mom's home with my sister at the time, and it was an unstable home. So we were placed into foster care for about a year. Our father was contacted to care for us, and he came and got us and moved us up from Stony Creek to North Bay. In North Bay, Ontario, we were living with my dad's new wife, and it was on the reserve. Mm-hmm. We were living the culture and living their religion, and I was in a whole new environment. So there was some situations where there was abuse in different ways, even prior to me, moving from household to household. It was more than just spankings. It was, I was told to stand in a corner for 4 hours, and I had to stand, at age 7 because I lied. I lied, so I had to stand in a corner for 4 hours. And if I swore, I got soap in the mouth. I mean, there was spankings and whatnot, but there was there was other emotional and mental abuse where, you know, I was woken up super early to clean the house at age 7, you know, and it's kind of like a Cinderella story, I guess. But the birds didn't save me. You know, and so growing up, you know, I also had a lot of freedom living on, you know, the reserve, and my dad working all the time, and his new wife being super young and not knowing anything really about parenting. And again, parents can only do what they can at the time, I guess. I'm going to keep saying that, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's true, though. That's true, though.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, I don't think anybody's born with a parenting book.
No.
But, you know, I had a lot of freedom. I could ride my bike on the highway at age 8. I could, you know, run through fields, go pick blueberries, and, you know, I just, you know, wasn't expected to be home, you know, unless it was to eat, go to the washroom, or to do chores. Other than that, stay out of the house, go play. So, you know, that's what we did. We hung out in groups, and we had lots of freedom. And then, you know, there was the trauma. There was, you know, a moment, trigger warning here, and I always like to take a trigger as a strength down the road of many journeys. But there was a moment where I was sleeping, and you know, a man came into my room and took me out of my house, brought me to a car, and I remember it being really, really dark, and it was raining, and it was cold. I was sexually assaulted. And, you know, I remember at one point my eyes rolled back kind of in my head, and I was just stiff in shock. And, you know, I was brought back into the house, and this guy, he took off. So I was very lucky to be brought back. You know, at that moment, I went and I told my dad what had happened, and, you know, I was checked out by the hospital, and, you know, therapy started. And I was also mute for a while. I wouldn't really talk, but, you know, bedwetting started. You know, I just, not really knowing, you know, what was really going on. I think that with mental abuse in the household, and not knowing where my mom was, just all of the stuff, right? I'm going to say all of this stuff. I started setting fires. I started lying. I started running away. I didn't want to be alive anymore. You know, and where I lived, there was this train that used to, you know, slowly move, and I would actually hop on it, and it would always go to this bridge. And, you know, there was a moment where it was like my first suicide ideation, where, you know, approximately 9-10 years old, but I was just standing on this bridge, and I'm like, there's got to be an end to this, you know, because I didn't get a lot of love. I didn't get a lot of hugs. I didn't, you know, nobody listened, nobody understood. You know, yeah, there was therapy, but I also didn't understand a lot of things that were going on. So at this point, you know, my parents, you know, speaking of my father and his new wife, they placed me into a foster home, you know, with my behaviors of you know, lying, setting fires, wetting to bed. It was all a lot. And I get that, you know, now that I'm older, I'm like, that is a lot to take in. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when I was placed into a couple foster homes, there was, you know, 2 sexual assaults. One was, you know, with a woman, and I was 11, she was 17. And then the other was another foster parent. He was a dad, and, you know, he sexually assaulted me a couple times, and I just, everywhere I went, I felt like there was some sort of like, I'm a victim again, and everywhere I go, they say it's going to be a safe place for me, and, you know, nothing ever felt like home to me, and being so confused. Well, you know, there was, I'm going to kind of fast forward to, you know, age 12, where I've now exited, you know, foster care, and my dad had divorced, so it was my dad. He got custody, moving me from CAS foster home to his house. But he was a ladies' man. He wanted to be with different women. You know, he worked really, really hard at his jobs. He was an electrician, and he was a DJ. He made lots of money. But it was all about, you know, partying and women. And there was points where I just got out of foster care, and he would leave me home by myself for almost 3 days. And, you know, I started smoking cigarettes, started, smoking marijuana, started drinking.
So hang on a sec here. Now, there was a point where you entered into a treatment center when you were quite young, but it wasn't for substance use, correct?
Yeah. So I'm just about there. Being 13 years old and drinking and smoking marijuana. I mean, that was not enough for me. So, starting to take pills and, starting to mix it with, chemicals and of cocaine and mushrooms and just mixing it all and numbing it even more and more. And I think there was, a point where, I got arrested. I was 15 years old. Mm-hmm. I set some really big fires. I got sentenced to young offenders. While I was in custody, I got a hold of some drugs while I was in there, and I escaped custody. I assaulted a police officer. I literally bit his hand, and I remember the blood, but I was so high that it didn't even really dawn on me the damage. But yeah, and there was a point where I was so high when I got arrested that I knew that sitting in this jail cell, there was no way that I was gonna. So I to be there, and I knocked myself out. I literally took my head and I knocked my head out on the metal, the steel metal toilet, and I woke up and they put me on a watch, like with a nurse. And at that point, the court, they gave me a choice. They gave me 6 months secure custody or, to do the 3 months rehab. So I took the 3 months. Mm-hmm. And, the 3 months, it wasn't over there. It wasn't, it literally just begun because,
Before we go on too far, I'm wondering, and I'm sure some of the viewers are wondering, you said, I set big fires. Now, big is a relative term. Like, what are we talking about here? Like,
yeah, I mean, when I was, like I said, when I was younger playing with fire, I'd set some fields on fire. It almost hit a house. Uh-huh. And that was at like age 9, 10. When I was, arrested, it was ridiculously 4 telephone booths. So it was like, I think they said the damages were close to $15,000. So yeah, I mean now my age has been released. I'm 45. No secret there. But when there was a phone book or a phone booth, I don't even know if there is any phone booths anymore. But yeah, so these fires, they were, and I don't even know, like, to look back, like what was, like, I know being on drugs, like it was like, haha, I'm walking downtown, just joking around and not really not thinking because, like, obviously the drugs, right? But when I was younger, setting fields on fire, I can't even describe that. Like, I guess they, there's a diagnosis for everything. But
did you know that? Did you know at the time it was wrong, or was this just good times for you?
Just behaving. Like I was maybe back then, like looking now, because I have studied, criminology and sociology and psychology. I've studied all that. Looking back, I think it was, cry for help, attention seeking, not knowing what to do with all my anger and, obviously not being, nurtured in a lot of ways, with parenting and stuff. It was just cry for help.
So when you were...
I don't play with fire anymore, so...
Well, good. When you said that you were left alone quite a bit when you were living with your father, how did you survive, like, being left alone that long? Where did you, like, get food and stuff like that? Yeah, not gonna lie, cereal to this day is my best friend. I have Cereal's those, like, amazing moments where I'm, like, eating cereal and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember these times, and maybe a little bit of PTSD, but and boiling pasta, just some noodles and pouring some sauce on there. My dad, he's like, there's food there, help yourself, it's in the fridge, so yeah, I just gained accustomed. But there was also, like, points where he would give me $20 and he'd, like, before I leave, just go grab some new video games, new releases. And let me tell you, I was so excited because,
You know, I got to play 2-3 new video games, right? I got to eat unlimited Lucky Charms. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad life back then for me to at that moment, right? But yeah, so I also had moments where he said, like, you know, don't open the door. You know, the door's locked, and don't open it for any reason. Don't open it. So I didn't, you know. I stayed in my room, and yeah, I didn't want to go back to the foster care system. I didn't want to go in any abusive situations. So I really just, I felt safe. I felt safe enough where I was. And again, I'm going to say parents could only do what they can at that time, because, you know, back then he was 35 years old, looking for love, probably in all the wrong places. And rest his soul, he passed away when he was 46. So
sorry. So going back to the treatment center, did you complete?
I did. So this was a conditional / release, I guess you could say, under the conditions that I finished the 3 months that I could be released. However, being underage, they also said you can be released if you have someone safe that will come and pick you up. But we are not releasing you unless, and that safe person had to be over 25 years old, somebody without a criminal record, and that they would go and investigate their house and who they were. So I could not at this point think of anybody that was willing to take me in, because you let me in your house, I'm going to steal something or I'm going to relapse. Like, don't trust me. And if you are, allow it to be like 30 days, if that. So
yeah, God help you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, my Christian aunt, I reached out to her, and it was kind of like a deal breaker. She's like, you know what? I'll take you in. You got to come to church with me every Sunday. And I was like, all right, I'm in. I'll do this. So legit, I did. I moved in with her, and the day that my, you know, conditions were done in my probation, I moved out. And yeah, you know, bless her heart that she did take me in, but it wasn't over there. It was, you know, I got into more trouble.
Still in high school? Like, how old are you? How old are you at this time?
I was just going on 18.
Okay.
So I was 17 in young offenders. By the time my probation was done, I was 18.
Okay.
I had this thing too where I kept moving back and forth from Hamilton, Ontario, the city, and going back to North Bay, Ontario, where it was like a small little town. So I don't know what it was. Like, it just back and forth. I didn't really know where home was. I didn't know where really where. I mean, I know wherever I went, I got into trouble. So, you know, wherever you move, your baggage is coming with you if you don't deal with that. So
yeah.
Yeah, I was about 18. Well, I know I was adult because when I got arrested for stealing the car, I got sentenced to adult. And when they arrested me, I had to wait my trial. So I did a lot of dead time, just time sitting there where they didn't account for my sentence, and had lots of time to get sober and lots of time to think. And yeah, they sentenced me 6 months, so I had to do weekends. So I would go in on the Friday and come out on the Monday morning. So I finished the 6 months, and then I had an additional probation time. And in all the times that I've been released, and there was always some sort of like probation or conditions, and with drug therapy, there was always like some sort of like, you know, counseling. But I mean, I still showed up with my probation officer high. Like, I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, are you high? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, you know, next time I can breach you.
Did you ever do this thing? Because I know, like, when I was involved with the ministry before I stopped using, I would do this thing where, like, I'm going to see my social worker. Like, I got to be high for that. Like, I'm not going to be able to handle that if I'm not high. Were you like that?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, or just like these people are going to make me talk, and I don't want to talk.
I can't be sober for that.
And God forbid if my legs stop shaking, because they're making me really nervous.
Yeah. So before we get too far ahead, though, that you were a bit of a bully in high school as well, weren't you? You
Yeah,
said
I
you wanted to talk about that.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
I sit on a bunch of committees, even globally at that. But one thing I want to say about bullying, and I work in the school board, so it is I see things, I hear things, and I know things. So knowing this, probably as maybe a jealousy piece or a protective mechanism of different strategies for myself, but
Hmm.
I didn't have the greatest lunches, so I would go and target kids that had good lunches, and bully them, spitting on kids, pushing them. Um, Here comes the fire again. I would set some kids' lockers on fire.
Holy
You
shit.
know, um,
That's intense. You say that like
I
it's nothing. That's intense.
yeah, it is. When all your personal stuff is in there and all your books and your jacket and stuff. I mean, if somebody pissed me off, but I would go up to people and just say like, I need some cigarettes, or I need this, or you know, there are TV shows out there that say like, do my homework or else, and it's true.
Hmm.
It was a sense of control for me, a sense of safety, but literally at the end of the day, sitting here at age 45, I was taking my shit out on other people,
Hmm.
and I could see kids getting picked up by families and hugging them, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, how come I don't have that?
Hmm.
And it wasn't their fault that they had this great life, or kids that were really, really smart or had all their shit together. So, I still have people reach out to me and say, you made my life a living hell. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, so yeah, I mean, advocating, sitting on committees, working with children now that are, and I don't even really like to say the word bully, but individuals that are struggling. All of these labels, we talk about, labels and who these people are, but where do they come from? What's their story? And it's not like, oh, well, you're allowed to be a bully because you have a shit life, but it's, okay, well, there's these resources for the victims of being bullied. But why not categorize this in a different way so that we can have supports of anybody that's struggling in any way, right?
Hmm. Yep. So, okay, let's move back here to, you were locked up at 19. I believe we touched on that already, didn't we? Sometimes I lose track of things.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a pretty picture, if I'm talking about, young offenders, to secure custody young offenders, to sitting in a jail cell for 3 months, doing weekends and weekends in North Bay, Ontario. I mean, if you got 2 years or under and you're in the North Bay jail, you're mixed. The girls are in the basement and the dudes are, roaming around. And, I had dudes mopping the floor in front of me. I was like, what the hell? Like, so, it's I don't know. It's not a pretty picture over on that side. I mean, the pizza's really dry. The toilet seats are cold.
It was okay. I was like, this isn't that bad until you said that shit.
No, it's not like an Airbnb where there's flowers. Like, it's just a shitty situation altogether. But let me tell you, it's a place of meditation. It's a place where it will make you think about your trauma, about why you are in this dark tunnel, right?
So, how long were you in for? Or no, you were on weekends, right?
Yep. So I did 3 months young offenders, and then I did 4 months, 3 months rehab, and then for adults I did 3 months, but then I did weekends. So I was also, like, I think from age 15 to 19 I was on probation.
So did you maintain your sobriety through this time when you were going in every weekend? Like, were you being subjected to drug tests and things?
Yep, I wasn't allowed to. So I did. They did checks, like where I had to strip down and do checks and blood work and urine samples, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, even with the probation order, like, it was kind of a joke. Like, I know that you're high. I could breach you right now. I'm like, okay, then do it, because I kind of need somewhere safe to sleep.
Yeah, I've heard that lots. People doing stuff bad enough to get locked up for the winter. That's not uncommon.
I'm just gonna turn my volume up here. No worries.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so you finish your sentence. Now you're in your 20s. Tell us what was it like after prison? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm just gonna rephrase that. It was jail time because it was under 2 years. So, in North Bay Jail, like I said, so I was released, and on the weekends, like, I was still couch hopping. I had an address, but I was still couch hopping. I had a backpack. I had a sleeping bag. I was working a part-time job. I had a friend that had a used clothing store, and they let me work, so I had a little bit of money. Not a lot to have a place and to feed myself and whatnot. But I ended up back in Hamilton, and I stayed with some family members. I still drank, and I still smoked pot. Loved my cigarettes, loved my coffee. Just a lot of hangovers. But there was a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm 20 years old and I'm not finished high school. Like I need to get my shit together. So I guess this was, my turning point.
Ooh. That was perfectly executed.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love the music with this show, and like I love everything that you're doing. So yeah, I was exhausted from being sick and tired. I was exhausted from being exhausted. I know that there was and is light at the end of the tunnel. And this one poet had said, one time to me, just recently actually, why are you in that dark tunnel? So again, this was that turning point of where I finished high school. I was like, holy shit! I graduated with honors. I put my mindset somewhere else. Not to say that I never drank on weekends, smoked some pot. Never touched chemicals. I was like, you know what? If I touch any kind of chemicals, I'm done. So I applied to college. I went to college, and believe it or not, I applied to be a correctional officer to work in a jail.
Huh.
So I went to college, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm learning about the Young Offenders Act. I'm learning about myself. I'm sitting back, and I'm like, well, this is some interesting stuff. And then when it came to, talking about your ego, your, all of the stuff that I've been through, I was like, it's right in front. Like, it was like I was counseling myself. But this college course was almost so easy because I've been through the system. But my whole thing is I really wanted to, keep my shit together. And I thought, smoking a little pot and drinking, it wasn't cocaine, it wasn't mushrooms, it wasn't speed, it wasn't. So to me, I felt like, okay, well, on weekends, like, I'm gonna have a couple drinks, and for the most part, I think I was doing pretty good, And it was the last day of college. I graduated, but everybody was dropping ecstasy, and I was like, you know what? I graduated from college. Why not? Why not try this love drug? And holy shit. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Oh yeah, give her.
I just did.
Yeah. Too late.
So I fell in love with this drug, and believe it or not, my dad at the time, he had set me up with this amazing job, $27 an hour, and I got the job, and I was 21, going on 22, and I just fell in love with ecstasy. I started going to raves. I started, dropping with a bunch of friends, taking 2 hours later, I wanted another one. So it's like, 6 hours into, going to the raves, and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, not eating for a couple days, sleeping, and going, oh my gosh, like I gotta stop doing this. Like, and then I started calling in sick for work. I was like, I need to get some help. So, I reached out and I got some help. I went to some counseling, went to some meetings.
Was there a final straw? Like, was there something that put you over the edge that led you to be like, okay, this is enough?
I wasn't eating. I was really, really thin. I was holding at like about 115 pounds, 120 pounds. I looked pretty sick. To me, I looked, just not well. I wasn't well. I was working, but making good money. I had the money, and back then ecstasy wasn't even that expensive. So, I seek the help, and I also went to some parties in the midst of that. Somebody thought I was overdosing. They stuck their fingers down my throat because I was mixing ecstasy with mushrooms, and it was just again, that's if you could do that turning point again. No, I'm just kidding.
There we go. Fuck it.
Love it.
I never get it right. There's always more than one. I should have a second one on there. That's just number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 3 and 4 too for some people. Anyways.
Well, you think that it's a turning point. You think that it's rock bottom, right? We were talking about this before we hopped on, is that I kept thinking, oh my gosh, this is rock bottom. Like this is it,
It's like
so yeah, I mean, and then I got married. I got married to a dude that was, we both made good money. I thought, okay, this is it. Like we're gonna get married. We bought a house.
So this is after you got help, and you're sober now, or?
Yeah. You know what? Not sober, but I mean, I never really. It wasn't really. To me, in my head, it wasn't a problem. Like, I mean, it was when I was mixing stuff. So there was an excuse of saying, I am allowed to drink and smoke weed. It's like I was like negotiating with my mind. Like, if I do this and this, it's okay. But because I just do this on weekends, it's not so bad. Or if I do it like just around this time. So
I'm not as bad as that guy, so I'm okay.
Yeah. Or I'm not calling in sick. So, or you can't smell the alcohol on me. I'm okay. Like, it's all good.
Not setting lockers on fire.
Yeah. Right? I feel like I have to have like a chapstick moment just because it's winter.
You got to do that.
I've been drinking my water.
Self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Self-care. Oh, you beat me to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, the married life to a man again. So I not to, release identities, but I was a straight woman, trying to be a straight woman, learning that I was bisexual, being married. I was so young. I was 22 years old. I was so young, learning all these things about myself. And, he was abusive. He, would physically hit me, drinking. And then he also smoked a lot of marijuana. Did I know this? Yes. Did I know that it was as bad as I thought? No. I, would find bags in our garage, and, I start snooping in the house and then looking at bank accounts. I'm like, all right, there's a problem here. So after a couple of years, I had left him, and, I mean, when we're talking about drugs or alcohol, I mean, I knew that there was, I didn't really smoke marijuana anymore because he was my, I guess you could say, provider. I didn't really know where to get it. I was, and I was working a lot too. I also wanted a family. there's a point to me where I'm like, you know what? I'm getting 28, 29 years old. I want to settle down. I want to have a family. I want to work. Here's the other thing. I didn't bring this up before, but I worked in a factory. I had a criminal record because I was 19 at the time of the arrest, 18, 19. I had a criminal record, and it was an indictable offense. So that means that I had to wait 7 years, apply for a pardon, and also if I even wanted to cross to the U.S., I had to get a waiver. So finally, after 11 years, I could enter the field of work that I went to school for. So I looked at going into jails and whatnot, but I also looked at working with young offenders and group homes, and I landed a job. I landed a job where I was counseling youth, and so there was that point where it was like, you know what? I don't even smoke weed anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't even smoke cigarettes. Like I make sure I only have 1 cup of coffee. So I think, and even with alcohol, to be honest, to this day, I can have a couple sips of alcohol. Put like a bunch of chemicals in front of me, I would be lost and out of control.
Mm-hmm. So what shifted?
But I don't.
What shifted? From the time where
my professional, I think my professionalism, I got, upon, I think it was, my getting my pardon. I had these applications were saying like, we're going to contact your old landlords, we're going to contact your neighbor, your family members to see if you've changed. And I'm like, ooh, like this stuff this stuff is real. Like they're checking up on me, right? Yeah. It's not the probation officer where he's like, yeah, I could arrest you again. So this was, a point where if I didn't have it all together, like I'm not going to have a life. I'm not going to have a life that I want to go out there and make a difference as well, because I really wanted to get into my field. I wanted to make a difference out there. And when I got into the group homes, that was my first job. And I did that for about 15 years. Mm-hmm. And it was a struggle. Working with kids that went through trauma like me, mm-hmm. And worse. Kids that, were overdosing, dying by suicide. It was all up close and personal, and I was counseling these kids. And then I got a job on the school board, and it's been 9 years, and I'm still working. 2 weeks ago, working with kids that are doing things like bullying, self-harm, and that's elementary school. So, mm-hmm. It is all up close and personal. Like my story is right beside me all the time, but the thing here is my own personal toolbox on keeping my shit together, because volunteering out in the community right now, I'm gathering items for individuals that are struggling with homelessness. And when we think of homelessness, it's global. We were talking about that, and getting those supports for people that I'm chatting with a guy right now in a tent city, and he has described that he's comfortable at his rock bottom, and he doesn't want to change. So,
so what do you say to him?
My thing is, I started touching base with that there is a wait list out there for detox and treatments. So it is a choice of fighting that addiction and the demons, or do you pick life? And if you pick life, you know what? It's going to be a real struggle to deal with all of those layers of trauma, and even just being homeless is trauma, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And also letting him know, I'll see him every Thursday. I'll be dropping off stuff. Mm-hmm. And if he's wanting to chat over a cup of coffee, just letting people know that that there are people out there that care. A wait list or not, you know, there's groups, there's Facebook groups out there that, you know, meet at different locations and giving out items to other people. So if that's, you know, a new toque, if that's, you know, a jacket, a hug,
you know, just knowing someone's name, just being like, hey, Bill, how's it going? You know, like, that can make a difference in someone's day.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you guys have if anybody watching has any comments or questions or anything like that for Jessica or for me or for Dwayne over here, just put them in the chat right now. We're going to go into the viewer's voice here shortly. So, anyways, before we do that though, what do you do for yourself? Like for me, like, you know, peer support, community support groups, things like that. That worked for me in my early recovery. It gave me a place to go, gave me people to know their name, and they knew my name. What do you do outside of helping others?
Yeah, so for me, I'm into photography. I love going into like abandoned places or just going on adventure with my camera. I do a bit of art. I play guitar. I play harmonica. I do sing a little bit, but I won't expose that. Actually, I did sing on one podcast before. And yeah, just doing things like this. I think this is a part of my self-care, connecting with other people and having these, you know, conversations so that, you know, just keeping me connected with community and, you know, going and I know this is a lot to say of volunteering my time. That is a part of my recovery. That is me keeping in check with myself because, you know, I go out into these communities and I'm like, oh my gosh, I go home and I'm like, I am so blessed. I'm so blessed to be alive and where I am today. So yeah, so simple as journaling, lighting a candle, affirmation showers. When I take a shower, I'm thankful, you know, for my ears, my nose. I kind of just do like, I do some
Heads
smudging.
and shoulders, knees and toes?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, just
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I run my own workshops. I also interview people around the world. I think I'm on episode 425. So,
tell us about Tree of Stars. How did that come to be? Like, what, you're walking down the street and just suddenly hit you? Because that's how this happened. But how did it happen for you?
Yeah, I went for surgery and the doctor had told me, like, you're going to have to sit for a couple months. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I love working jobs. I love moving around. And yeah, I just kept running into complications and I just had a lot of time to myself. And I was walking down the street. It was in the evening. The sun was going down and the sky was super blue. I took a picture and there was a star in it. And you know what, I was kind of, you know, going through a rough period and yeah, photography, utilizing it as a therapy. And then I decided, you know what, since I have this time off, I'm going to go out there and share my story. I'm going to build a resource for people. And because I like to write in my journal, I'm going to create this kind of like workshop or even like a self-care group where people can, you know, meet up with me and connect with me and just talk about their shit. And if that was, you know, bullying, suicide, whatever that was, like, let's talk about it. And yeah, I mean, it kind of like embraced into its own organization. I have a small little committee, people that, you know, help out with different projects for outreach. And I've done an album release, a couple documentaries.
What were your documentaries about?
The first one is about my life story. And I had, you know, a couple college students that did that, put that together. And like I said before, it was five or six they followed me around, which was for 5 days, which was a lot. And then the other one was 9 of us sharing our story about suicide ideation and how far we went on that. So,
so did you have? I know you mentioned suicidal ideation at a very young age. Did that continue at all? Like, did you experience that later in your 20s and so forth?
You know, I'm going to say even in the middle of the pandemic, just feeling like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, when is this going to be over? Not saying it was suicide ideation, but I reached out to my doctor for, you know, just not wanting to be here. And I didn't know how serious that was. because it wasn't the extent to my past, but I still reached out. I was like, hey, I had a thought of like, oh, I just don't want to be here anymore. So yeah, just I had some new medications that I tried out, and you know, I don't take those medications anymore, and I'm good to go. But that check-in is so important, even if it's a small little thought like, get me out of here, or I don't want to be here. I definitely reach out to somebody and, you know, write down your thoughts, get it out.
So you do writing then? I know a lot of people, like, I haven't done it for a while, but I used to do this thing where I would just write all the shit out, like all the terrible shit that was in my head, and then I'd burn it. Do you ever do that? I know you love to like burn things, so. Do you do that?
Do you know it's a part of? It is. It's a part of my culture. So I practice a couple different religions and cultures, and that is a part of letting go. And I do write. I write every single day, at least for 5 minutes. And then, you know, my self-care groups are all about journaling. I'll tell you what to write about. You write it, and then you tell me what you wrote about. So it's pretty intense because, you know, some people need the Kleenex, and some people giggle about stuff, and just keeping shit real.
Okay. Well, I think that brings us to today, would you say? Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go and look at some questions?
I just want to thank you for how awesome you are, because I think everything that you're doing is super awesome, and keep shining on your end. And if you ever need someone to talk to, yeah, don't be afraid to reach out, because I know life behind the scenes, you know, it's stressful and things can get, you know, a little messy, but I just want to let you know that you're awesome.
Oh, thanks. Let's look at some comments. We've got some awesome viewers too. Okay. Oh, I saw Ron here somewhere. Oh yes, Ron. My friend from Regina. He came in late and he's asking, what did Jessica do to end up in the North Bay buckets?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my dad, he remarried, and we moved up to the reserve up there, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, there's some good stuff up there, like you know, ice fishing, snowmobiling,
oh, okay,
cliff jumping. So there's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Beverly. Beverly, my friend, good to see you this evening. Beverly says, we can't give up till we find our people to walk this path with. That is very true. What else do we have here? Rosanna.
It takes a village.
If you feel free to expand on that. I do this thing where I just start spouting off comments and I don't give my guest a chance to talk.
Oh, no worries. I just think it takes a village, right? Like somebody like yourself, somebody like me, you know, you've got your co-host behind you or sitting beside you. So I just think like it takes a village. And when I talk about village, it's a global community. It's not just, you know, one resource center or a hub. Like we're all in this together. And even more now in the last 2 years of the pandemic, our numbers have gone up with suicide, overdoses, homelessness. So we need to create that village.
Agreed. Okay. Oh, actually, we've got, let's see here. Donna's just saying, I agree, Jessica. I'm glad you said that. I don't know if that's for what you said right now, or did she say that a little while ago, but whatever. I saw a question here from Rosanna, and now I seem to have lost it. I believe Rosanna asked, is there any advice you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, you know, I think just not feeling like it's the end of the world. Yes. But I think we all need to, when we grow up, is to look back, because I don't think I could actually even go back and give advice to my younger self, because I'm older and now I know.
And you
like,
wouldn't
how am I
listen
going to
anyways.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And one
I know
after
I
the other.
wouldn't have. Yeah. I'd be like, what does this guy know? So,
Actually, you know what? Sorry, just to go back, I'm all about self-care, but also that self-love, right? So teaching kids the butterfly hug, right? Just holding yourself. Teaching kids about journaling. Teaching kids about meditation, right? Teaching them about wellness and mental illness, right? And trauma. Like, I think just having those resources at a younger age. So I guess that younger self is us. It's up to us as adults to go and teach the kids about those environments or topics, right?
yeah. Dustin down from California. Dustin, my friend, thank you for watching this evening. He asks, homelessness is so bad here in Southern California. Do you guys have your own version of Skid Row up there where you have blocks of homeless people?
Yeah, I mean, we have here in Hamilton, we have groups of homelessness, but we also have it's going into the forests. It's going further than that. People are creating small little communities in the forest, and but there's riots happening because the police are taking down the tents. And, but yet there's in other places where, like, there's people that are charities that are creating small little huts, But what about all the churches that have basements that
are empty,
that are empty?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We've
Don't
got
get me started on that.
We've got a comment coming in here. Mary, I'm so glad you're with us tonight. Mary says, I'm wondering how I'm going to get sober with the pandemic. I so want to be in a meeting. Just scary.
So I do offer self-care groups, and I don't say peer support group anymore. I call it self-care groups. Every Wednesday, it's free. It's on Zoom. We have meditation, different musicians from around the world. And anybody can reach out to me. On Tree of Stars on every platform except for Instagram. It's on tour, but we've been doing this for about 4 years.
I tagged you in the chat here, so if y'all want to reach out to her, just look through the chat. You'll find her. I tagged her. Tree of Stars. So what else? I think we are coming to the end of the questions here. Rosanna is saying, I love the butterfly hugs. Wendy is saying self-compassion! Exclamation point. I always try to get their inflections right. I never know if I do. Well, I believe that is all that we've got for you, my friend. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with tonight?
I just want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And, like Daniel said, share this to your platforms. And, I think we were talking prior just of the list of resources. The best thing that you could do right now is go Google list of resources, reach out to all of them, and create, in your phone, create or go look through your list of friends in your phone. This is what I do. I've created like an A list. So when I open my phone, my first contacts on my phone are the people that I 100% trust. If you got nobody that you trust, again, my groups, there's global supports, right? Just because I'm not in Saskatchewan or just because Daniel's not over here in Hamilton, he's becoming a resource for people over here in Hamilton to tune in to get those, chats going or that information. But go through Google, start reaching out to those places. Even if you make an okay income and you're struggling, go to a food bank. I think if the supports are there, don't be afraid to reach out, because with this pandemic, believe it or not, we are all struggling in some way. Mm-hmm. And if somebody hasn't experienced anxiety throughout this pandemic, I think they're full of shit.
Okay, well, thank you again for joining us this evening. We will let you go. Have a good night, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
There is power in numbers. If you would like to contribute to ending the stigma around emotional pain, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Like and comment your thoughts on our posts. Let us come together with our lived and living experience as a resource that has the power to engage new thought processes, to promote new ideas, to broaden the spectrum of care, and to show the world that we can recover. There is a safer way, and we're here to show you how. Good night. Stick around, we're going to spin the wheel. Here we go. Where's the music? There's the music. We can't spin the wheel without the music. Okay. The P5 Project YXC is a research project here in Saskatoon that is trying to find a better way for people who struggle with substance use to gain access to resources. They just finished their data collection and they want to say thank you to the community in a good way. Principal investigator Barb Fornsler gave us some gift cards and we are going to give them away tonight, right now, when we spin this wheel. Here we go. I love the music so much. Krista Williams! Krista wins a $50 gift card. Good for here in Saskatoon. Sobeys, Safeway, IGA, Foodland, Fresh Cove, Thrift Foods, bunch of other places. Congratulations, Krista. Okay, that's it for us. Thanks for watching tonight. Join us again next Sunday night right here on this page